All right. Tom, can you talk about what it was like when you found out that Zach had been killed and you knew the team was going to wear his initials on the helmet, but you decided to do something a little bit different by asking a special request to Coach Perry?
It was a tragedy that he passed away, and he was such a good kid and good football player. And as a captain, I thought I should do something for him and for his family. I was wear his number.
And so what was it like when you went and asked Coach if you could wear his number? Because you wore number 2 and you decided to switch number 3.
He was just proud of me and thought as a captain it was a good decision as a leader to do something, and I thought, all right, let's do it.
And you knew Zach personally. That was one of the things that, your cousin had been the quarterback on his team. Your brother was a teammate of his. So it was something that was a little more than just being a captain. This was a guy that was somebody you grew up watching, right?
Yep, I watched him all 4 years. My cousin was a captain with him. So I watched him be great and thought I should do it for him.
What type of a football player was he? And was that something that inspired you, that wasn't just a guy you knew, but somebody that you looked up to as a football player?
He's a hard-nosed player, worked hard all the time, lifted. He was a big kid, and he just liked to play.
When you wore his number, was that inspiring to you, just to have it on and go out there and feel like you were playing for something a little more than usual? I mean, did you notice that in the first game last week?
Yeah, I had to represent his number and come out strong and do it for him.
What was it like to have such a big first game? Because I know you had, your share of rushing yards and receiving yards, scored 4 touchdowns. What was that like to have a game like that in the opener?
It felt good to just get out there and play. Got a few things to work on, but it felt good to get some touchdowns and yards.
Did you feel like you turned in a Zach Sheridan-like performance? Because that's what the type of numbers that you put up. It's a similar style of football that he played, being versatile as a runner and receiver.
Yeah, definitely just showed out for him and put up numbers like him.
What has that been like? Has that kind of formed a little bit of a tighter bond on this team, seeing that a former Rebel, there was a tragedy involving a former Rebel that, it happened right before camp started too?
Yeah, we just came together and thought, all right, it's another reason to go out there and win some games.
Is that one of those things that this team can kind of feed off of, just the tightness now this year? Because you guys have some high aspirations, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. It just brings us together and pushes us even more to win championship.
All right, thanks a lot, Tom.
All right, thank you.
All right, bud.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, Coach, can you talk about what it was like to get that phone call and to find out one of your former players had been killed, and just the emotional moment that was like?
It was pretty devastating, as a football coach, you're with these kids so long and spend so much time with them that you create a bond that's more than a player-coach. You're almost a father figure for these kids, and every one of these kids you consider one of yours. And to get a call like that on a Saturday morning is just something that, I would never want to have to get that call as a parent of a player, but as a coach of a player, it just makes you stop and pause and wonder and realize how things are in the world, and at any given moment, anything bad can happen, and then you have to be ready to adjust your lifestyle and move forward.
As a coach, how did you want this team to honor Zach's memory?
I wanted the team just to realize that once you play here at Seton-La Salle, you're a member of this fraternity forever, and I was happy that our captain stepped up. Numbers mean a lot to kids these days. So when he decided to give his number 2 up that he had worn for 2 years and said, Coach, I'd really like to do this to honor Zach. Tommy's family is a part of our program. His brother was a quarterback here, and his cousin was Zach's quarterback, Matt Rogers. So it meant a lot to me knowing that Zach's spirit would still be with us that way, and the type of player that Tommy is, he's very comparable to Zach, very athletic, dual threat type of kid. So, that helped ease it, but it doesn't take that soreness away that you have when you find out something like that tragically has happened.
Did it say a lot about Tommy, though, that as a captain he stepped forward and said, I want to do something, I want to be a leader here, and that's something that, that he could carry onto the field as well?
I would really expect nothing different from Tommy. I've known Tommy most of his life. His 2 uncles are on my staff, and it's just the type of family that they are. You would expect him to do that. I was glad that he did it. I'm glad that he didn't have to be urged to do it, and he did it on his own. So it's one of them stories that just makes you feel good. It's not a happy ending to a tragic accident, but we can at least get some happiness out of it to see the number 3 running around, and we know why it's running around.
And did it give you some reminiscing about Zach when you saw Tommy out there having the game that he did against South Allegheny in the opener?
Yes, Tommy had a very good game, catching the ball, running the ball, playing good defense. He never leaves the field for us, and that's something that Zach had done also. So 2 very tremendous athletes, and I hope that Tommy succeeds down the road.
And can you just talk about what type of a player Zach was, and what that meant to your program to have a kid like him, because he wasn't your most talented guy that you've ever had, but he was among your most hardworking, right?
Yes, he was a very hard worker. When Zach came in here as a freshman, he was a little short, stubby boy that you probably wouldn't think you were going to get anything out of him, but he worked himself into a all-conference linebacker, got himself a scholarship to Slippery Rock, and just continued to work and lead by example. We always tell these kids that you have to put the time and effort in, and good things happen. And Zach was surrounded by a lot of good athletes in that team, but Zach went on and played college football, led his team for 4 years in tackle. So it just shows you that dedication and hard work can come back and help you out.
And do you feel like this team is now a little tighter and a little more inspired this season coming in? Because this happened pretty much, a week before training camp?
Yes, it did. I think that it drew us closer together. I think that between Tommy and our other captain, Mike Countess, they've been around the program for all. They both have older brothers that played here. And I just think that they understand the family that you have and the bond that you have as a football program. And I think that that'll help us, I hope, down the road. It's not maybe going to win us football games, but I think it's going to bring us together and make us work a little harder.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.